And now, Knock 2 Studios presents Common Censored.
Hello, my name is Scarlett Kelly, and I am officially declaring war on the Republican Party. If you are a Republican on TikTok and you want to interact with me, you deserve to die. You deserve to be shot. You deserve whatever suffering could possibly come to you. If you are a Republican and try to start any of that kind of nonsense with me in person, you will lose your life. This is war. I am not joking. It's done. You are not an American anymore. You're out. You're off the list. You've been naughty. Like, come on. We're going to start giving you the coal in the form of massive stones on top of a slab of wood on top of you. Have a wonderful day.
That dude's not deranged at all. What the fuck? Testing. Can you guys hear me or not? Doesn't seem to be registering on my end. Can you guys hear me? Let me know in the chat. Am I muted? Okay, cool. You guys can hear me? All right, welcome back, everybody. What's going on? I don't know why I can't see the audio on my end, but hopefully it continues. Let me know if the audio ends up disappearing at 10-4, fire for effect, 5x5. Thanks, everybody. Welcome back, all of you censored commoners, to Common Censored. I'm Lord Sterling, and this is episode 357. Boom! All kinds of crazy stuff to talk about, as usual today. What about this one? Truth or troll? Trump seems to be open to the idea of the U.S. joining the UK as a Commonwealth. What? What? That's got to be a troll. Hopefully it's a troll, but if not, it's a big fucking problem. So we have some information about that coming up. We also have Obama busted using USAID money for domestic Rent-A-Riots as a bizarre spiral appears in the sky over the UK, kind of remindful of the 2009 Norway spiral, which occurred the night before Obama was landing in Norway. Interestingly enough, we also have the U.S. halting funding for Australian universities, FBI flagship office doing 12-hour shifts to get to the bottom of the Epstein stuff, and Maduro accused of running Rent-A-Riots, which is pretty crazy. We'll get into all that and a lot more as we go. Make sure to join us Monday through Friday, 6:45 p.m.-ish Eastern Time, as we cover all the crazy clown world clusterfuck chaos that is 2025. Kaylin V, welcome back. Good to see you. What's up, everybody? Outlaw Dogs, Fire for Effect, Takcho, Mama Mac. I sent you that stuff over the weekend, Mama Mac, about the UK thing. Spectre, what's up, Spectre? That art, it's freaking badass, dude. I got it listed on the list so we can take a look at some of it during the show as well. J Monty, 0071. Good to see you, Monty. Welcome back. Hope you had a good weekend. Smelling McGroin Commodore, Smelling McGroin in the house. Thanks for being here, everybody. Make sure to use hashtag Common Censored and hashtag Info Infantry where applicable when you share the show. You can find us on X at Lord Sterling _. We're also on Truth, Getter, Gab, and Minds. Thank you to our new followers over on Rumble, steadily approaching 2,000. Appreciate it, you guys. Links to all the sources for everything we covered today will be posted down in the video description on Rumble immediately following the broadcast, as well as in the replies underneath the X broadcast window. Mama Mac will be adding timestamps as we go, so if you're watching this later on and you need to maximize the efficiency of your time, focus, and attention, click on down there into the video description, skim through the topics we cover, and jump right to the point in the video where we cover the things that interest you. Throw Mama Mac some love over at alplama.com, your new herbal health guru. Avoid the petrochemical pharmaceutical industry that wants you sick and dependent. Try some natural tinctures to remedy your ailments. Tastes bad, but so good for you, right, Mama Mac? Alplama, yuck. And if you want to support the show directly, you can hit up our link tree at Common Censored. Disclaimer. Views expressed are only opinions. Assume everything we say is false and research for yourself. We're not giving medical, legal, or financial advice. The only advice we are giving is think for yourself. Question authority. Think for yourself. Question authority. So let's jump into the news. What's up with this freaking weirdo dude over here? Scarlet Blossom. He doesn't look like a scarlet to me. The people are just getting more and more unhinged as we go. So this next one is the big story from over the weekend that had me all in a tizzy. And Alex Jones as well, as Trump allegedly considers U.S. Commonwealth a membership with the UK. Recent social media buzz has been triggered by President Donald J. Trump's expressed interest in potentially making the United States an, quote, associate member of the British Commonwealth, following a reported, quote, secret offer, unquote, from King Charles III. This has sparked a range of reactions from shock to sarcasm among American users of X, with many recalling the historical significance of the American Revolution. Yeah, that's right. We need to have complete disassociation from all of Europe. We should not be huffing the British royalty's farts, whether officially or ceremonially. If I have you kiss my ass and just say that it's ceremonial, I don't think that that'll make a difference to you. While the posts and comments are filled with speculation, the underlying event appears to be Trump's favorable remarks toward the idea, if an offer were to be extended by King Charles. A highly disturbing story. Here's RTSG News. Breaking: Donald Trump wants America to join British Commonwealth. Quote, Donald Trump loves Britain and has a great respect for the royal family, so we believe he would see the benefits of this, Commonwealth representative stated. He offered membership to the United States. Commonwealth countries consider the British king to be their sovereign, including Canada, South Africa, and others. If Trump were to accept Charles' offer, it would be the first time in nearly 300 years that the British monarchy would rule the United States. I love King Charles, Trump wrote on Truth Social Friday morning, while linking to an article citing a report that said the monarch would secretly offer the U.S. membership in the Commonwealth during Trump's second state visit to Britain. Quote, sounds good to me, Trump posted on Truth Social. A troll, hopefully. Otherwise, there's gonna be war. This is being discussed at the highest levels, a member of the Royal Commonwealth Society said. It would be a wonderful move and would symbolize Britain's close relationship with the United States. We shouldn't have a close relationship with the United States. We literally spilled blood, spent entire fortunes to break free. Then they roped us back in with a banking system being put in here, operated out of the corporation of the City of London, by roping us into the United Nations. It's a mess. It's a mess. Alex Jones not happy about it, saying, I've got a message for Donald Trump. If you really try to make America join the British Commonwealth, 1776 will commence again. Americans everywhere are shocked by President Trump's announcement that he may attempt to put King Charles at the head of the United States of America, literally reversing the world-changing achievement of the American Revolution in 1776.
I told that back in 2013, I told that red coat globalist that was trying to take our guns, Piers Morgan. If you try to take our firearms, 1776 will commence again. Well, now I've got to tell President Trump, if you try to put King Charles as the head of the U.S. government, ahead of the American people and our president, 1776 will commence again. When I learned this information earlier today, it was like a punch in the stomach. I couldn't even believe it. So I went and researched it, and it's true. And I've always promised viewers and listeners, I love Trump. Overall, I love what he's doing. But sometimes he does just the most terrible things. It's true. So we've all been wondering the last 3 or 4 days what this secret message, the King of England, the globalist, Mr. Great Reset, Mr. Carbon Tax, King Charles coming to visit Trump next week, what secret message he was going to be delivering from the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. It's hard to match King Charles's corruption and evil, but Starmer actually does it, may even surpassing. I'll get to that in a moment. Trump has openly said and posted on Truth Social that the word is they're going to offer entrance of the United States of America into the UK British Crown Commonwealth.
Tulip, you sneaky little tulip over there. I see you. We got Canadian spies in the house, guys. Ruh-roh.
With 50 plus other countries like Canada, New Zealand, Australia, British Virgin Islands, the list goes on and on. Now, you have to understand, they always advertise this, being associate member, oh, it's just ceremonial. No, it's not. Whenever Trudeau just canceled Parliament so he could stay in office a few more months and bring in Carney, the former head of the Bank of England, the head UN climate envoy, he invoked the King of England and the Charter and the Governor General Charter, and it dissolved Parliament. So these so-called Commonwealths that are independent, they're not independent. That's why they're all under censorship and control. And the UK is one of the most corrupt, evil governments now on earth. Not to mention King Charles's brother and Epstein, and then the King and Jimmy Savile and all the pedophilia. I mean, it's just beyond disgusting. There's no real Trump-Epstein connections other than they live in the same area and he came to Mar-a-Lago with someone and Trump kicked him out. They're both socialites. But there are connections between the King of England and his family and Epstein, heavy ones, and other pedophiles. So Trump saying he loves King Charles and all this, it just turns my stomach. But let's be clear why the UK is doing this, okay? At the end of World War II, they set up the OECD for the Marshall Plan, this big global corporation that the central banks are part of, including the United States, but mainly the Rothschilds and the Bank of England and others. Then they set up the UN, they set up NATO, they set up the CIA. It's all part of the same big corporate globalist British East India Company 2.0 or Dutch East India Company. That's actually what these come out of, and what Skull and Bones comes out of is that model, a corporate global government backed by the British Empire. But the British Empire started World War I, won the war, but it was Pyrrhic. That made their empire start falling apart. Winston Churchill wrote about this in his 3-volume set, History of the British-Speaking Peoples. He was half American and British Royal. They started the process of really, after World War I, merging back with the United States and set up the CFR at Pratt House in New York to do that. This is all part of mainline history, just the average person doesn't know it. But since then, you see tabloids since I was a kid in the grocery stores, all about the royals and how cool they are and, oh, the UK. We fought a revolution against them. That's what July 4th is. That's what George Washington is all about, Thomas.
I agree, Monty. Sometimes you can be basically a shock jock, but when things like this get floated, it's important to blast it out there and get people riled up. Because sometimes Trump will like test the waters with things. We need to react bigly against this so that Trump knows if he does this, we will fucking abandon him immediatamente. This is unforgivable. A giant red coat, a red line, so to speak, a red coat line that we will not cross. Never. Never!
Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, Patrick Henry, Sam Adams. I know most people still remember that. And it's been the whole globalist left trying to denigrate the founding fathers and take a knee during the Star Spangled Banner and take down statues of the founding fathers like Thomas Jefferson that wrote the Declaration of Independence and much of the Constitution and much of the Bill of Rights. So this is an assault on the very identity of our country. And joining this British Commonwealth does not just mean it's honorary. So this would be Trump going against the very foundations and the very meaning of the American Revolution and who we are. Then, as I've explained for years and shown you, and it even came out big time last week with more proof, the UK has been working with the CIA and propaganda and getting USAID money and EPA money and other money for 50, 60 years.
Fugono, thanks for joining over on Locals, brother. I saw that. Thank you so much.
Directly come back and attack American populists and patriots and conservatives and Christians. And if you look at the UK, opening up themselves up to the world, arresting people for their speech, arresting people that quietly pray 100 yards from an abortion clinic. I mean, the UK is tyranny par excellence.
Yeah, that's right. Omega Directive saying this is anti-MAGA. This would be MABA. Make America Britain again? No, thank you. No, thank you.
It's the pedophile command base. It's even mainstream news here that the government's basically pedophile. Keir Starmer, 15 years, the head of the CPS, didn't prosecute one pedophile, protected just mass rape gangs, mass grooming gangs, covered up just hellish stuff. And it's been Keir Starmer signed a secret minerals deal with the Ukrainians and setting up the Northern Group out of NATO to try to thwart Trump. So the idea of joining the collapsed British Empire, because it's nothing without us. And Churchill said that in World War II. So that was the special relationship of the deal. No official treaties other than the spying, sharing intelligence. So the EU's fallen apart. China is now isolated. The EU and China are trying to get together. And in this announcement, Keir Starmer and others are saying, oh, we'll help you fend off China. We'll help you if you're in our alliance. So Trump knows the old order post-World War II is falling apart. It's been there for 80 years. Bretton Woods III is here. He's doing all the right moves for industry, jobs, the dollar, stability, the future, our sovereignty, our culture, stopping the demoralization. All that's great for the new American system, not an empire, but soft power, 1776 economic power. That's what the world wanted. That's what the world admired. That's why we were the apple of the planet's eye. The greatest, most successful innovation in history, because we got away from the British and away from the monarchies and away from the European centralization and combines and kind of crony mercantile systems. And so it's smart to not be part of NATO's war with Russia if they need to justify their existence. It's smart to pull out of the globalist UN. It's not that these institutions have become corrupt. They were all set up post-World War II to set up this global corporate order. But
yes, exactly. Mama Mac was asking for the evidence. So here it is. Donald Trump reposting an article from The Sun on Truth. King Charles to make secret offer to Donald Trump during UK state visit. And Trump says, I love King Charles. Sounds good to me. It does not sound good, Mr. President. Sounds actually the complete opposite of good. Sig, what's up, Trapper? 220, good to see you.
The Chi-Coms 15 years ago double-crossed the globalists. They were only supposed to be the dominant producers or earth mineral controllers and use the globalists as middlemen. They weren't supposed to expand militarily anywhere, including the South China Sea. They'd expand everywhere. So the globalists got double-crossed and fell apart in the last 15 years. Now the EU is falling apart, so they want a war to have their existence and take the rest of Eastern Europe. And they talk about breaking Russia up in 5 parts. The deputy head of the unelected EU Commission a month ago. That will be their business model. That's their business model to not collapse. They need to innovate. They need to become free. We need to lower tariffs. We need to get rid of tariffs. We need to really, be open and free. But no. So this is the old order dying, and they're trying to do this offer, I guess, to try to come into the U.S. empire and continue us to be a British empire. It's more of what we saw for World War I and World War II, but official. So the idea that this is just ceremonial, in all the other Commonwealth agreements, it's not, unless they have some new one. And I mean, we already have defense alliances with the UK and Australia and New Zealand against China, so this isn't needed. I know the ins and outs of this, up one side, down the other. There is no reason to do this. And the UK, again, spies the American people just like Israel. They use pedophilia for control, just like Israel, just like the EU does. They're desperately corrupt. And this is just a continuation of the old system. And so Trump is usually very nice, though, when somebody kisses his ass like King Charles or somebody. Oh, maybe we want you to join our alliance. Oh, sure, I'm open to that. And then he trolls them. And I'm expecting that is what this is. But
hopefully,
if this is not that, and the headline from the left is correct, which of course it generally isn't, the New Republic, is Trump trying to undo the American Revolution? Yeah, we joined the Commonwealth under the king, and he's the head of the Commonwealth. That's the King of England over America. Then absolutely. Trump suggests U.S. could be associate member of British Commonwealth. I love King Charles. Now then you've got Nigel Farage, who always acted really good, but now says, we're not a Christian nation in the UK, and we need to go ahead and accept more Muslims. And Tommy Robinson isn't good. And we should trust Boris Johnson. And Boris Johnson betrayed everybody. I mean, Nigel Farage is getting ready to run for prime minister down the road. And so I don't think it's my opinion. I think it's very, very clear that if he wasn't sold out before, he's sold out now. And he joined my show 15 years ago and said half the support of UK came from my show. We were number 1 at the time in the UK. It was crazy, just over the internet. So I like Nigel overall, but the Nigel I see in here now is half as good as the old Nigel Farage. So he's kind of like none of these fake conservatives like we've got up there with the Conservative Party in Canada. There's a lot of great rhetoric, but when it comes down to action, it's bad. So I've seen other stuff Trump said, but usually that's just jerking the chain. I'll take you Tesla terrorists that are burning up these dealerships, and I'll ship you to El Salvador. You can ship illegal aliens to El Salvador, and that's great. You can't ship citizens.
Yeah, we were kind of joking around about that last week, but you can't ship citizens to foreign countries to be in hellhole prisons. Jones is right.
So let's not be who the left says we are. They're totalitarians. They're the censors. They're the ones that say in the New York Times, time to abolish the Constitution. And everything Trump's doing is constitutional under Article 2, shutting down these agencies and all the rest of it. But this type of stuff isn't just unconstitutional. If we actually joined and put King Charles as the head of the United States under this contract, when you sign this agreement, it would be treason. I mean, Donald Trump would be Benedict Arnold 1 trillion point up. I mean, Benedict Arnold would be about 1 millimeter tall. Trump would be 1 million feet tall, in size of this. I can't believe it. If this was ever tried, no one would put up with it. And Trump is all about our sovereignty. And again, America is founded out of the Revolutionary War against the British. And so this is just even being nice, if that's what he's doing, just okay, I'm not going to do it, but yeah, I'll take a real desperate note. It's still scary. Now, that said, he knows these guys are shit. And Trump will talk nice to people he knows are after him. So I'm about 99% certain that this is just Trump trolling people like he tends to do. But regardless, I feel physically sick right now because I love the fact Trump didn't get assassinated and survived. The same people trying to bring him down, trying to bring me down. And, so much more. And I know he's making all the right moves and culturally discrediting the globalists and dismantling them. This is a real revolution if we continue on it. But the revolution I signed up for was a continuation of 1776 worldwide. Okay? Not with troops, but with ideas and us helping build up the world and build ourselves up at the same time. The British Empire set up the current globalist order and got us into it in the last 60, 70 years. And we need to exit out of it. It's parasitic.
Or at least the British Empire was dragged into it by the commies who set up the UN.
It hates our way of life. And all the propaganda you see is part and parcel of Hollywood and these same people that hate the very existence of our country because they want a global tyranny. And you can't have an open, free society with a giant middle class and innovation competition if the rest of the world's under the WEF and BlackRock and the New World Order. So we'll see what happens. That said, this is horrifying, just even in the concept itself. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow me here at Real Alex Jones on X. If X goes down sometimes under attack, you can always find the feeds at Infowars.com/show. And if that gets shut down, they're going to do right now, you can be sure to follow us at AJN Live on X and the Alex Jones Network, and I'm coming to you here from the studios as well. Thank you so much, but know this, I'm 1776 all the way, never surrendered, never faltered, never waver, cannot sell out, will not sell out, can't even comprehend doing it.
Can't bribe, won't ever flip.
Because this is a death cult. You can't sell out to death and destruction and enslavement in a post-industrial world. And I'm on Team Humanity, and America is the best, greatest hub of Team Humanity. And so I'm pro-Americana. I took it, like Elon said, hook, line, and sinker. And even if it was a dream, we're going to make it real because we are the best house in a bad neighborhood. God bless you all. Follow me right here on X. I want to see your comments below. I can post videos below. I'll be talking about this a lot tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central, with this Sunday evening show.
Boom. So we had somebody in the comments underneath, Von Allen's America, saying, chill out. It's a ceremonial thing. It's just part of the historical Commonwealth countries that are tied to England in some way. Alex says, no, it's not. And I said, even if it was merely ceremonial, forget it. We need total disassociation from Europe, not to be sniffing the UK royals' farts officially or ceremonially. And Jones responded to me saying, 100%. 100%. It's actually, you guys know exactly what it is. It's 100% pure evil.
100% evil.
Pure evil.
It's pure evil.
So, no, we will not be entertaining this. Not one bit. Here's another clip that he did later on in the night that I thought was good, too. Let's check out this one. I'll speed it up as well.
Trump came out yesterday in response to Keir Starmer announcing the news that the secret message that King Charles is going to bring next week to President Trump at the White House is an invite to be a member of the British Commonwealth, an associate member. And I posted a video saying this is just outrageous. Now, it doesn't mean Trump has done it, but the fact that Trump said he would be open to it is outrageous, ladies and gentlemen. Being an associate member isn't just ceremonial. I have covered these Commonwealths, and the fact is that means you are affiliated with the British Empire and that the sovereign head of that is the King of England. On top of that, the UK is the center of really the globalist system and has been running attacks on America, on Trump, trying to keep the Ukraine war going. They're directing the whole thing. So it's disgusting. And then King Charles wants carbon taxes, world government. He's a huge WF globalist. So America is 1776. America was founded getting independence from King George III. And I can understand that Trump wants an alliance against China. We already have that supposedly with the UK because they have interest in their Commonwealth in New Zealand and in Australia and to some extent Taiwan. So Trump understands China's the main threat. My point is that I'm all for Canada being the 51st unofficial state economically. We have a $200 billion a year trade deficit. They depend on us. Free trade with them would be much better. They have 300% tariffs on a lot of our products like dairy, poultry, milk, eggs. I mean, it is just absolutely out of control. So major alliances are shifting. The EU is collapsing. They're now allied with China. The globalists were double-crossed by China 15 years ago. This is a long process of the globalist system falling. And the British Empire remnants on record in mainline PhD-level political science textbooks will tell you that after World War II, we really officially merged a lot of our operations with the UK. And the UK is a tyranny. They're destroying their own sovereignty. My God, it's run by
World War II, we got tricked into joining the UN. They got us on with war crimes like in Dresden and dropping nukes and stuff. And they're like, you work for us now, basically. You did our dirty work. You did evil, horrible shit. Now you work for us.
Pedophiles. Keir Starmer is the top pedophile protector when he ran the CPS 15 years. Look it up. Everybody knows about this now. So it is normal to be outraged by this and to be concerned. You know, I get a little creeped out when we hear about this new trade deal with Mexico and Canada because that can be rolled into what we thought of as the North American Union. Even if it's, quote, run by the United States, still, we merged with Mexico and Canada. That's like merging with 4 or 5 Californias, all the leftists. So I understand Trump wants America to expand. Greenland makes sense. Panama Canal we built, it's ours. He's making all the right moves on 95% of things. But I'm not going to sit here on things like, oh, honorary member, oh, it's no big deal. Canadians think it's honorary. It's not. They just dissolved Parliament under the orders of the King a month ago, 2 months ago, so that Trudeau could stay in a while. Research the contracts, research the governor generals, research all of this. That's why it's the exact same policies in all the Commonwealth countries, the Virgin Islands.
Canada still has the Queen on their money, bro. Would we have the Queen or the King on our money in this case? No. We're not entertaining this at all. Mama Mac in the chat saying follow Crazy B on X. Crazy B 8383 got banned, so now she's it's a me 8383. It's a me 8383. It's a me Crazy B. So make sure to go follow her new page over on X, guys.
To Australia to Canada. Research all of this. That's why it's the exact same policies in all the Commonwealth countries, from the Virgin Islands to Australia to Canada to New Zealand. There's 56, 57, I believe 58 if we join, and it's a bunch of bull. I've interviewed all the top experts. I'm an expert on this. For 800 years, I've trained Jedi. My own counsel I'll keep. For some of the people down there saying, calm down, settle down. You got some people that jump on Trump about everything and make up stuff and nitpick. They're on one end. You got the left way out there, they hate everything. And then you've got some people that just say, whatever Trump does, we should do it. Oh, like deport everybody from Gaza and turn into condominiums? That's wrong. I disagree with that. So I don't want any foreign countries or groups influencing us, involved in our government, just like Israel. The UK is one of the big ones. The EU, the Communist Chinese. I want sovereignty for America, and that's what Trump's all about. So I love Trump. I support Trump. But this crap's a big deal, and they're trial ballooning this stuff. And I'm pretty sure Trump's just being friendly and being nice, and I'm just being...
Maybe getting them to bring their plans out into the open so that people see what's going on, and then he'll smack it down, hopefully. Dozer, thanks for liking the post over on X, brother.
Very clear that we're having a cultural 1776 worldwide right now. And people don't want to be under the old empires of the EU and the UN, and it was all created right after World War II, the UN, the OECD, all these organizations.
It's a global communist takeover plan. Look at the United Nations logo, and then look at the Soviet Union logo from under Stalin. It's the same fucking logo. They just took it and changed it a little bit. Changed the colors, changed it a tiny bit. It's a global communist takeover plan. That's what the UN is at its foundation.
NATO. And I like Trump basically getting us out of the World Trade Organization a month ago with reciprocal trade tariff and all that. He's doing all the right moves. So I'm sure this is going to end up being some
frustrating
maneuver he's got doing this, because the UK knows they're done. The UK...
I think it was a strategic move on his point, because he used to talk about back in like the early 2000s how they call us goyim, they think we're cattle, and everything. And I think that it was a strategic thing for him to say globalists to get us right to the edge and let us figure out the last step ourselves so that they couldn't call him an anti-Semite and shut down his message completely. I don't know, though. He's saying the right stuff here. That's for sure.
He knows that their empire was totally tied to us, their whole globalist system. So they're trying to run over to us and have some alliance. We've already had that alliance, and they've screwed us over. Not the people of the UK, but the criminals that have hijacked it. We need to liberate the UK. We need to liberate Canada culturally. We need to liberate Germany and the EU, like Elon and I have been talking about. Not merge with it. Now, if they reformed everything and all the rest of it and made themselves 1776, that'd be different. They need... How about they pledge to hoist the flag of 1776 and get rid of the monarchy? How about that?
Yeah, 1776 worldwide, baby.
How about that? How about under soft power, Trump's making all the right moves, they come under our system. Oh, if it's just ceremonial. 1776 all the way, never surrender. Follow me on X at Relax Jones. We cover this tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central with a Sunday transmission. Infowars.com/show, band.video, Relax Jones, right here on X.
Never surrender. Never surrender. We also have Health Ranger over here at Health Ranger. Mike Adams predicting a civil war, saying a civil war is coming. The radical, violent, deranged left cannot live with actual peace, actual democracy, actual free speech, actual non-rigged elections, actual real news, etc. And then when they realize they're being marginalized because their ideas are horrible, they lash out with violence. What you're seeing right now against Tesla is just the beginning. A nationwide left-wing wave of kinetic violence is just getting started. Sounds accurate to me. I think we're probably going to have a chaotic summer, a new summer of love. Guys, summer of love. How about this? Ron Paul was just on the PBD podcast. Boom, so awesome. Quote, they want chaos in the streets, Ron Paul, on empire collapse, censorship, and the war on liberty. We'll just watch a couple seconds of this, but the full link will be in the description if you guys want to check it out. I always, of course, recommend checking out everything that Ron Paul does.
What you're talking about is so little. This is a big problem, and you think you're going to change things?
Congressman Paul.
Why don't we just open up the Constitution and read it?
Do you think President Trump and Musk are making progress in shrinking the government today?
I am not expecting the budget deficit to shrink this year nor the next year, because there's too many people who have become dependent on it. So there'll be an emergency this year, believe me.
Has the enemy of the state changed and evolved from what it was in the 70s, 80s, 90s to who it is today?
The people that run our universities are not on our side. The education of our founding fathers is unbelievable. And there were no universities to brainwash them.
If the situation and the scenario happened that you're claiming, to get it to the levels that you'd like it to get to, it's a massive disruption to the system, no?
The damage has already been done.
It's a massive disruption to the system to stop taking heroin cold turkey, but you have to do it. You have to do it, and you're going to feel sick. You're going to feel like shit. But it'll only be worse. The withdrawals will only be worse if you keep taking the heroin in this case being the infinite money printing.
Bubbles have to burst. You better be prepared, because that would probably cause a civil war.
You don't sound optimistic.
No, I'm the most optimistic person in the world.
30 seconds.
Did you ever think you would make it? I feel on me.
He may not. Today we have somebody who has developed, and he may not even know it, I'm sure he does, thousands of disciples of his because of what he's taught over the years. And every time he speaks, I was just sharing a story with Dr. Ron Paul earlier about what you and I, the first time we sat down together in Houston, and that stuck with me till today. It's an honor again to have you on the podcast, Dr. Ron Paul. How you doing, sir?
Thank you very much, Patrick. Good to be with you again.
It's great to have you on here. So, question, with everything that's going on right now, with all the policies that we're seeing, where you're seeing, the deals happening with the Panama Canal and BlackRock, or Doge, the Elon talking about the $100 billion in savings, or the tariff wars between Canada and China and U.S. and Mexico, with everything that is taking place, what are you most excited about and optimistic about, and what are you most concerned about?
Oh boy, the individual issues that you mentioned are secondary for me to the philosophy that motivates people to do things. So if somebody is a socialist or somebody is a libertarian, who motivated them? What have they read? Who's influenced your ideas? So I think right now what we're facing basically is the late recognition how much trouble we're in. And of course, they're once again saying, well, yeah, there's too much government. We have to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, I've heard those terms all the time over the years, and nothing really happened.
Yeah, like when Obama was talking about waste, fraud, and abuse and mentioning all these programs that they were planning on cutting with his Doge equivalent that he put creepy, sleepy, crooked Joe in charge of over there. Intermittent dasting. What's up, intermittent dasting? Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us today, giving me the opportunity to earn your viewership.
But I think this time it's different because it's bigger. There's a sort of a conclusive end coming because the bankruptcy, and I used to talk about, there's a moral bankruptcy and a financial bankruptcy. And I would talk mostly financial because I was more interested in the monetary system and the debt. But, lately I think I have been moved, not that I think there's a big difference between it because you can't separate the two.
It's the same agenda. But all part of the cultural subversion operation, divide and conquer, remove morality to make people morally ambiguous, moral relativism. And then when you don't have a solid foundation, everything's in flux and relative, then you can reprogram the masses to your belief system.
But I think the moral bankruptcy is what exists. It has existed throughout all of history. Good versus evil, and the whole thing about natural law versus government law, and all these things. These are the big pictures, and where do people fit in on this? And then I try to simplify and say, well, are you an interventionist or not? And I can talk to you about, where you want to intervene. Oh, yeah, I want to intervene and do this and that. Well, my view is that we as individuals, and especially if you're in government, you should be a non-interventionist other than to deal with people who are aggressive and causing trouble.
And they try to claim that it's isolationism. We want to isolate ourselves completely. No, that's bullshit propaganda. It's non-interventionism. Friendship, travel, and trade with all nations, bilateral agreements to solidify those relationships, but non-intervention. Not getting dragged into the UK's wars, not getting dragged into Israel's wars, not getting meddling in other foreign countries, causing people to hate us, resulting in what the CIA calls blowback. So Ron Paul, right as usual.
But for telling people how to live, what to do, how to spend their money, how to draft kids and send them around and start wars and without declaration, all this stuff, there's a lot of interventionists. And guess who I think it is? I think there's just only two parties you ought to worry about: Republicans and Democrats, because they accept these principles. But that doesn't mean I can't see the difference. And in some places, there definitely is a better movement. They all talk about, now, oh, you got to cut the spending. But I think it's coming to a climactic end. I think $36 trillion or something. And then I hear schemes like, oh, all we have to do is buy a couple crypto and they're going to go up in value. We're going to pay off the national debt. Well, that's just, grabbing at straws on solving the problem, because the problem is, a moral approach to committing oneself to non-aggression. I'm not going to use force, but everything government does is
right, the non-aggression principle
is the use of force, and that has to be designed. There will be some force. We have a national defense and things like this, but individuals. Our problem, I think, stems from the fact that most people still, in spite of all the violence in the street, most Americans would say, no, you shouldn't lie, cheat, steal, and kill people. That's aggression. But what do we do when governments do it? We totally ignore it and participate in it and send them money without even paying any attention to the restraints in the Constitution. I'm thinking, like declaration of war. Look at all the war and the killing that's gone on and all the money spent, which is all unconstitutional and it's violent.
Every war is a banker's war.
The monetary system is just an act of violence that is so corrupt, that's fraud and abuse, and yet that isn't even being discussed today, how terrible that is. But you or I, Patrick, if we did it, that we'd go to jail for that. And
right, banks can just print money out of thin air. Why can't we do it? Why do banks have special rights that we don't have? We need to all be bound by the same rules. Period.
They still know that if we steal and hurt people, that's bad. But if you look at it, stupidity and ill-advised people and people who just want more power and money in government, they cause a lot of harm. And if I compare that to, what people think, oh, all we have to do is get rid of USAID and things will be okay. I'm for getting rid of that, believe me. But there's a lot more to it. I want to see and discuss
tip
the
of the iceberg
principles that allow people to justify their involvement in participating in this violence.
So how do you feel about what they're doing with Doge now? And if you were an advisor at the highest level, maybe even leading the charge, what else would you go after next?
I wouldn't go after. I would still want to attack it in a philosophic way. Today, see, if you have a bad program, and right now we're starting to see that they'll have to retain some of USAID. And it's the principle: if you permit something, just 10% of what you think that's the seed, and it'll grow. If
the camel's nose under the tent, so to speak.
Congress has an argument. Should this budget be $100 billion or $90 billion? And they said for 95, that's not progress. That's endorsing 100% of the principle that they should be involved in either, some type of social program that's helping the very wealthy, the pharmaceuticals or the military industrial complex. So once you commit to that principle, then we're in trouble. But if you're looking for one item, I mean, I go back to the item that motivated me to get involved in the details of it, and I would think that if you didn't have this privilege of the very few people who are involved to be able to create the worldwide reserve currency, the
Central economic planning.
dollar, and that would be our Federal Reserve. I mean, that's how everything is paid for. And that is the most immoral thing in the world because it's a debt. I mean, it's a tax. It's just a tax. It's a wicked tax on the middle class and the poor because they print the money, devalue the currency, and that is a tax on the people.
Yeah, the most poor people are affected the most when you devalue the currency.
And they try to balance this. And we just had a meeting this week with the Fed, and they talk about technicality. Oh, this and that and that, and none of that is possible. You can't know those things in economics. So I just get a biggest charge or disgust too with all the talk about what should interest rates be. Ron, what would you do? What would you do to interest rate? Well, I
let the market decide.
Try to decide because the interest rate is so important. It tells you the price of money and whether the activities that the people are participating in are wise decisions or not. So I think it's that big picture that I want to see. And I would still go if you had the one thing. Some people ask me this, and I'll say, well, let's change one law. The Federal Reserve cannot buy government debt, and because they buy the debt, there's a guarantee, and we're wealthy and all that. But I also recognize that if I was there and I did that, and no more government purchase of debt, you better be prepared because that would probably cause a civil war.
Boom. So check out the rest of this interview. Probably really good. I like this meme that was in the comments from Hugh G-Rection. Every time with a salute, all roads lead to Ron Paul was right, baby. Agreed. It has yet to be disproven in any case. How about this one? FBI's flagship field office puts Epstein case file redactions ahead of all other investigations. Some in 12-hour overnight shifts, report. Written by Jim Hoft over here at the Gateway Pundit. FBI's flagship New York field office has reportedly shifted its focus to a single mission, reviewing and redacting the Jeffrey Epstein files for public release. According to a bombshell report from Vanity, out of all the places in the world, over 1,000 agents and civilian employees are biting the midnight oil, some pulling 12-hour overnight shifts to pour over the late sex trafficker's records, allegedly late. He still could be alive, guys. Still could be alive. News outlet reported, quote, "It's literally all hands on deck," quote unquote. One source familiar with the matter tells me, adding that dozens and dozens of agents are working around the clock on the case instead of their regular duties. Quote, "I even saw an agent working on it with a pillow," the source added. New York field office is an epicenter for FBI counterintelligence, counterterrorism, public corruption, international drug trafficking, and financial crime investigations. One FBI veteran called it, quote, "a ludicrous situation." ABC News citing, so they're like complaining about this. ABC News citing unnamed sources reported that up to 1,000 FBI agents, quote, "many of whom are usually focusing on national security matters like spying on American citizens, peacefully protesting and praying outside of abortion clinics, has been pulled into the effort to review the files." The network also quoted FBI spokesperson Ben Williamson as saying, quote, "Director Patel is committed to full transparency and justice." Far-left CNN confirmed the frenzy, noting agents are hunched over computers, redacting files at breakneck speed to meet the deadlines set by Attorney General Pam Bondi. News outlet reported, quote, "Agents have been ordered to set aside investigations, including some related to threats from China and Iran, to help complete the redactions," people briefed on the matter say. Every division in the Bureau has been ordered to provide agents to the cause, including those who work on criminal and national security matters. It's so bad to expose the pedos. This weekend, agents in the Washington field office are spending hours on redaction duty. People briefed on the matter say, quote, Under Attorney General Bondi's leadership, the Department of Justice is working relentlessly to deliver unprecedented transparency for the American people, Justice Department spokesperson said in response to CNN's inquiry. For much of the week, agents could be seen filing into a room at FBI headquarters, with some also doing work at field offices in New York and at an FBI office in Chantilly, Virginia, the sources said. For hours, agents sit at banks of computers using editing software to identify redactions required under federal laws, including the Privacy Act. The material also includes video. Whoa. According to the Wall Street Journal. And that's like, what, we got all these JFK documents. Where's all the video? Where's all the audio interviews? We need not just PDFs. We need full spectrum information disclosure, in my opinion. According to Wall Street Journal, FBI agents have been directed to redact only the names of victims and their personally identifiable information, such as phone numbers and social media handles, during the review. Hopefully, that is true. The victim's city and state, however, must remain visible. Reviewers were specifically instructed not to redact large portions of text and were told that names of third parties, including witnesses, relatives of victims, and others connected to them, are not to be protected. In cases where nude images of victims are found, agents are permitted to redact the entire body, but if the victim is clothed, only the face may be blacked out. It can be recalled that the so-called, quote, Epstein files Phase 1 was a colossal disappointment. Hopefully this changes and we get some real, actual information. Jones posting over here a clip of Owen Schroyer. Video, massive Epstein bombshell just dropped. AG Pam Bondi says they've been researching the Epstein files that were hidden by the New York FBI and that there are hundreds of child victims that they are preparing to release. Like I told you at the time, there was 200-something victims listed that were redacted. I was like, there's way more than that. Way more than that. Tip of the iceberg. Let's check out this clip from Owen Schroyer.
Tens of thousands of pages of documents and hundreds of victims of Jeffrey Epstein. So the FBI, they have been working round the clock at my directive, at Kash Patel's directive. Now Dan Bongino's there, who is a great asset for all of us at the FBI as well. But yeah, we have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe. But other than that, we are releasing all of these documents as soon as we can get them redacted to protect the victims of him, of all of these horrific crimes that he committed.
Ladies and gentlemen, a month ago, AG Pam Bondi was told it was all the Epstein files. She was given them. Most of them were old. 10 pages were new. Implicated the
I thought this was Schroyer. My bad.
Former Prime Minister of Israel in being involved in the sex trafficking operation with Jeffrey Epstein. That was substantive, but overall it was a cover-up. She had the FBI offices in New York that were covering it up raided. They got truckloads of information. She said that they are now going through it 24 hours a day as the priority. And she just came out in the last hour and said this. Ladies and gentlemen, there are hundreds of child victims.
Hundreds, just like I said, real quick. I just love seeing you guys interact in the chat. Everybody seems to know each other from hanging out in various streams on different shows that we all go to, and it's just really cool, man. We got a great community over here on Rumble. Looking forward to boosting all of our shows, and just love the cohesiveness of our community, man. Rachel Boone, good to see you. Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
They're going through, getting their names out, witnesses and others, and going and getting people to talk to them to be witnesses, so they take their names out as well because they're cooperating witnesses, and that they are getting ready to release it. Then, New Jersey U.S. Attorney Alina Habba, former Trump lawyer, delivers a major update on it as well. Here are the incredible developments back to back.
And Alina Habba just got made an interim New Jersey federal attorney, so she's got a new position. Pretty cool.
What about the Epstein files? A lot of conversation about the Epstein files. And I recognize that when you're dealing with children, it takes much more time. You've got to ensure that what you're sending out publicly is not revealing any personal information. But can you give us a sense of those two items and whether or not we'll learn more about them?
Sure. You're going to hear, all I'll say on January 6th, you're going to hear a lot more about the January 6th commission in a very good way. And as to Epstein, yes, you're absolutely right, Maria. tens of thousands of pages of documents and hundreds of victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Wow. So the FBI, they have been working round the clock at my directive, at Kash Patel's directive. Now Dan Bongino's there, who is a great asset for all of us at the FBI as well. But yeah, we have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe. But other than that, we are releasing all of these documents as soon as we can get them redacted to protect the victims of him, of all of these horrific crimes that he committed.
That are and are not verified. Just because you're in a Rolodex, does that mean you went to Epstein's Island? No. Just because you were in a flight log, does that mean? I don't know. They have to do their process.
Ooh, man, Rachel Boone saying, ooh, she said the death penalty phrase today. I think we're close to the good parts. Spikes, or I'm not satisfied. We'll see. Oh no, wood chippers for the pedos, right? After due process, of course, and updating the laws for cruel and unusual punishment.
You can't assume, and this goes back to what I was saying, you have to go through a process. And I believe in law and order. I believe justice will be served to the people that deserve it. We
Omega Directive gifting 5 subscriptions to the show. Thanks so much, Omega Directive. Appreciate you, brother. You're the man. Threeper gifted a membership. Snarl Barky gifted a membership. Sigmund was a fraud gifted a membership. Takcho and Wood Geek gifted memberships by the one and only, the magnanimous Omega Directive. Thanks so much, Omega. Appreciate you, brother.
We believe in that. Cash and Pam are very serious about creating a pattern in this country that has been missing for 4 years, where the American people can trust the justice system is being responsible. We're not going to be off the cuff. We're not going to shoot from the hip. We're going to look at things methodically and take them very seriously. And unfortunately, that takes time.
Well, and I can also see why you might be very sensitive to guilt by association and so forth. I mean, everybody.
And by the way, that goes back to, that's exactly what I speak to. I truly understand that everybody, complaints get filed and people jump to conclusions. And people want to see, I see this a lot on Twitter, where are the arrests? Where are the arrests? Well, again, you have to go through a process. You have to make sure that you are vetting it. We are not Letitia James. We are not Alvin Bragg. We are going to look at things properly, look at all the evidence, and bring charges where charges are due. And that will be across the board. That's not just an Epstein thing. That's a problem, because for 4 years, America was so used to people politically motivated, just flying off the cuff, filing a complaint against somebody, and then you tarnish their name. And you have to deal with the repercussions of that when you lose in case or you lose it on an appeal. And
what she's saying is totally true. They have to track down these people. They have to get the witnesses. Just investigating 5 kids being raped is a huge investigation. You just heard the Attorney General. Hundreds of child victims. We know they were doing it. They've got to find out now with the witnesses, the victims, who it was. This is a huge job, and they're moving at light speed. It is the priority. The globalists tried to kill Trump. He wants to bring these people to justice. We've got to bring down the deep state. This is how you do it. And that's why the deep state's burning down Tesla factories and trying to crash the stock market and trying to kill Trump.
If you watch part 11 of Europa, The Last Battle, they have a pretty comprehensive section painting a vivid picture that Donald J. Trump may be an agent of the cabal, so to speak, a modern-day version of Operation Trust, which was a Bolshevik commie operation to create a controlled opposition. And after his first term, when he didn't get a lot of stuff done that would have made a really huge difference, that seemed like potentially a plausible thing. But after they tried to lock him up, after they tried to miter him multiple times, and now that he's bringing in people and releasing the files, JFK, Epstein, going after USAID, cutting off the money, doing all this stuff, it seems like if he ever was an agent, controlled opposition agent for the cabal, so to speak, it seems like he may have changed his mind and said these people are fucking evil. So hopefully that's true. Hopefully that's true.
And trying to shut me down, and has huge illegal FBI investigations that have now been exposed going on against me because we're exposing it. But anybody out there who hasn't, run something big, you don't know. It's a lot of work. It's an exciting time, though. Stay with us.
Very exciting time. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. A blade with the knucks attached. Love it. In a related story, moving on to our next one. Hashtag Me Too, French style. En français. Controversial film star Gérard Depardieu on trial for sexual assault. Paul Sarin wrote this article over at Gateway Pundit. On the one hand, there are many who feel the reckoning brought about by the Me Too movement in the film, TV, and music industries has no place in a society like France. On the other hand, there are many victims of rape and sexual assault and those who support them. Controversial film star Gérard Depardieu was caught in the middle of these two different forces. Depardieu will face two women who accuse him of sexual assault in a Paris courtroom. I think this may have already happened, maybe today. And will confront a nation with a tradition of laissez-faire when it comes to sex crimes perpetrated by the rich and famous. As AP reported, Depardieu, 76, is accused of assaulting a set dresser and an assistant director during the 2021 filming of Les Volets Verts, The Green Shutters. While more than 20 women have publicly accused him of sexual misconduct, this is the first time one of those cases has gone to trial. This case will test if a country proud of its, quote, culture of seduction, unquote, will hold a cultural titan accountable. Seduction is one thing. Rape is an entirely different thing. I don't know how they could even equate those two things together. Prosecutors say Depardieu trapped one of the women with his legs before groping her waist and breasts in front of witnesses. In an interview with investigative outlet Mediapart, the 54-year-old set dresser said Depardieu shouted on set that he, quote, couldn't even get it up because of the heat. Then told her, quote, come and touch my big parasol. I'll stick it in your nether regions. She said he then grabbed her forcefully and had to be pulled away by bodyguards. An assistant director also alleged she was groped both on set and in the street. The names of the plaintiffs have not been disclosed to protect alleged victims of sexual violence. Depardieu has strenuously denied all allegations. Yada, yada, yada. Want more information about that? Want to read his defense? You can check that out. Don't forget about Roman Polanski as well. Big crazy stuff with that. Let's jump over to some JFK-related news. Trump says Oswald, quote, was helped with the assassination of JFK. Well, if he had spent time talking to Roger Stone, he would know that Oswald had no gunshot residue on him at all, and that eyewitnesses, spotted somebody up in the book depository window that more accurately matched the description of Mac Wallace, the guy who LBJ hired to whack off JFK. So that's interesting. Trump has again stated that he believes Lee Harvey Oswald, quote, was helped with the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy. Trump's statement comes on the heels of 80,000 previously classified documents related to the assassination being released by the U.S. National Archives. Trump discussed the matter in an interview with Outkick founder and conservative radio host Clay Travis on Air Force One. Man, take me on Air Force One. That's the only way I'd consider flying anytime soon. It would be an interesting interview. Me talking to Trump. Guarantee that. Let's listen to this little clip.
President Trump getting to talk to you.
Well, it's like a 15-minute clip, so we'll listen to a couple seconds.
Here on Air Force One. It's pretty incredible. Thank you, Caroline, for bringing us in. I wanted to start with this. Why do you think young men are so overwhelmingly coming in your direction? I'll give you an example. My sons, 17, 14, and 10,
not in my direction.
They did a test pre-election vote. All-boys school, you got 80% of the vote. 12 to 18-year-old young men and boys. Why do you think you're reacting? Why do you think it's working so well?
Well, I guess it's a lot of factors, right? There's some I can't say because that's just better off not saying. But part of it is because it's working. It's all coming together. The country's coming together. Today, one of the biggest chip companies, the biggest in the world, announced they're going to spend $200 billion. Apple's going to spend $5
Wow, that audio sounds so fucking weird. I don't know what the hell happened with your recording Outkick, but damn. Fix it. Fix it. Don't do that again. So, quote, Travis asked him, do you think Oswald killed JFK personally? Quote, I do, and I always felt that, Trump replied. Of course he was ... helped. Oswald didn't fire the fatal shot. It came from the front, from the right. Blood spattered back into the left onto the agents that were walking along with the vehicle. It was not Oswald who fired the fatal shot, President Trump. Like, unbelievable. Trump said that the document dump, quote, turned out to be somewhat unspectacular, but concluded maybe that's a good thing. Why? The president did not elaborate on who helped Oswald, so that's a little interesting over there. Meanwhile, Roger Stone discussing who really killed John F. Kennedy, posting on X, if you answered the CIA, the mob, Big Texas Oil, or Israel, you are correct. But the man running the show in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963 was LBJ. I prove it in my book, The Man Who Killed Kennedy, the case against LBJ. Boom. We also have an emergency message to Trump from Alex Jones and Roger Stone over here. The president needs to entrust the JFK file released to Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard to stop the ongoing cover-up. They released, quote, cherry-picked documents that are designed to reinforce a false narrative. Roger Stone had previously said, after talking with Trump, that the stuff in the files was so shocking that he didn't want to release it the first term, and we didn't get that. So what was Trump talking about? Why is he being so blasé about this? What is going on? Let's listen to this clip.
What do you expect knowing Trump is going to do when he finds out they didn't release everything? Widen his executive order?
I certainly hope that he will do that. I think the way to do this properly is to take it to Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence. I think she was acting in good faith, but it's very clear to me that everything they have released, and there's some very, as you point out, some interesting things. The fact that much of the correspondence of James Jesus Angleton is missing, the fact that they clearly know far more about Oswald.
We got more about that coming up in a second.
Than they say they do, much earlier than they say they do. The fact that the Russians say Oswald was a terrible shot. By the way, Malcolm Wallace was also a Marine Corps veteran. He had the highest possible sharpshooting rating from the Marine Corps.
And that's where you'd need to nail that bullet going through Kennedy's neck, through Connolly's back and wrist, into his thigh, then bouncing back into the back seat where the bullet was discovered by that individual who came out a couple months ago who picked it up from the back seat, placed it on the stretcher.
He was an expert shot. We also, by the way, have the claims of Loy Factor. He's a Native American, a Texan, who says that he was recruited by Wallace at a county fair where he saw fancy shooting by Factor. Factor was brought to Dallas, acted as the backup shooter, says he was on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository building. Why should we believe him? He describes a flat saw to the right of the window from which the shots were fired. Now, there was construction going on. There is no other way for Loy Factor to know of this description of the physical premises from which the shot was fired, at least.
Yeah, seems pretty conclusive to me. Looks like we got a birthday in the chat, a birthday for Dirk Gently. Happy birthday, Dirk. Boom, you get a rank up. Boom. Let's make it 2 ranks up for you, Dirk. I'll add that into the notes while we're going. Thanks so much for being a consistent listener of the show, Dirk Gently, and a happy birthday to you. Thanks so much for being here.
At least one of the shots.
Sure, and that's how the CIA
Omega
operates.
on
They
Friday.
get a whole bunch of different people. Charles Harrelson, a known hitman, died in prison killing a federal judge at long range with a .243 rifle in San Antonio. It's the same story over and over again.
So I don't think we have anything here other than cherry-picked documents that.
Yeah, and even, who was it, Kash Patel or one of these guys came out and said that they'd located thousands of documents that had never been scanned and were being held at a different location that weren't included within the encompassment of the original executive order. So we need to get all this stuff out. We need the documents, we need the videos, the testimonies, the audio recordings. We need freaking everything, not just a bunch of PDFs.
That are designed to reinforce what I still believe is a false narrative that Oswald killed Kennedy. Let me ask a simple question. People in Texas will understand this. Why does the Dallas Police Department examination of Oswald with a paraffin test show that he has no powder burns, no nitrates on his chest, or his arms, or his hands, or his face? If he had shot a leaky $26 World War II vintage Italian Army carbine, he would clearly have had powder burns, but he had none. That's because he is, just as he said, a patsy. And he says, I didn't shoot anyone. And
And Trump is still out there saying, yeah, I think he killed him. Like, come on, Mr. President. Did you not look at the files?
He didn't.
There's a lot of amazing T-shirt designs out there.
Boom. So, yeah. Emergency message to President Donald Trump. We need the full details. The full details. That's right, Fugono. Oswald was a patsy. A patsy. Let's jump over to Shadow of Ezra for our next little post about this. At Shadow of Ezra on X. Declassified JFK files expose a CIA directive to destroy evidence and documents tied to counterintelligence chief James Angleton. This is the man who betrayed the U.S. by leaking nuclear weapons secrets to Israel. Apparently, according to him, he was the biggest Zionist on earth. Paraphrasing. The records also reveal orders to eliminate specific mail sections. Documents dated 1/23/1967, 4 years after Kennedy was shot and 3 years after the Warren Commission was made public. The document was approved by someone with the initials SR. So that's a little interesting over there, covering up Israel connection. The following serials removed from file and destroyed in accordance with authority contained in yada, yada, yada. You have no authority to destroy federal documents. That's the public's property. That's like felony class action right there. So pretty sketchy. How about this one? Speaking of sketchy, this is big news. Huge. Barack Hussein Obama was using USAID to pretend to send aid overseas, but was laundering it to train Rent-A-Riots instead. Mike Benz, founder of Foundation for Freedom Online, recently joined Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience. Entire podcast linked right there. Podcast was filmed several weeks ago, but a clip from this discussion is making the rounds this week on social media. During their conversation, Benz shared how Barack Obama was using money to USAID to pretend to send aid, quote unquote, overseas. In actuality, Obama was laundering the taxpayer dollars and using it to train Rent-A-Riot mobs instead. This is a huge development, but maybe not so surprising considering how demon rats believe they can do anything they please with other people's money. Let's take a look at the clip.
This was a scandal during the Obama USAID era. Now, we were running a number of rogue USAID operations in Cuba at the time, by the way.
Dirk Gently, are you using A1 on that steak? Let us know in the chat.
I have to say for the record, I'm no fan of the Cuban government. I'm not even weighing in on whether it's the right or wrong thing to do, in terms of regime change there or, liberating people there from autocratic excess by that government. I'm simply showing the American people where your tax dollars are going and how these things are structured in order to systematically fool you and to fool Congress and to fool the White House. So, for example, this is, and I'll show a couple other things in a second here. But this is Zunzaneo. If you just scroll for a second, we'll start with this, right? So it was an online social media. Just scroll up 1 second. We'll start at the top here. It was an online social networking microblogging service created by USAID and marketed to Cuban users. This was a Twitter knockoff. See, the background of this is 2009, 2014, that period. The State Department and USAID were gangbusters gung-ho on the promise of Arab Spring-style social media revolutions to topple other governments. The Arab Spring was a Facebook revolution and a Twitter revolution. USAID pumped $1.2 billion in, and we sponsored these activist groups and these civil society organizations to learn how to use Facebook, learn how to use Twitter, learn how to use hashtags, learn how to coordinate street protests so that everyone knows where to go, what street to show up on, what kind of slogans to use in order to create the pro-democracy, predicate for it. But the problem was at the time, Cuba did not allow U.S. social media in. So they said, so they're not allowing Twitter in. How can we get a Twitter there, but without calling it Twitter, without making it look like it's coming from the U.S.? So what they did is they took the exact same thing as Twitter. Same user interface, same like and retweet button. Zunzaneo is the Cuban slang word for hummingbird. So it means it's bird. It was the Twitter bird, the whole thing. But the whole trick about it was you have to make it look like it's coming from the Cubans if you're going to do this operation. So what you'll see is it began running. So this is 2010. This is right during the Arab Spring. And what you'll see is they took funds, millions of dollars of funds that were concealed as humanitarian funds designated for Pakistan. Now, I don't know if Joe or the audience, if you've looked at a map lately, but Pakistan is not exactly the next door neighbor of Cuba.
Real quick, let's hop over to Lady H. Looks like she's got a good guest on today. Preserving freedom. Let's check it out real quick, guys.
I just like dilatate and just focus on you completely
Daniel
when you make it fun.
Ferrer,
when you add music,
guest.
when you add dancing, when you add some rhythm to it, the kids love it. Why? Because they're kids. They have young souls. They're in the golden age. And so
They're very susceptible to that type of
anything
propaganda.
you do with fun, games, whatever it is, they're going to love it. And they're going to pay attention and they're going to learn 10 times more. And, you know, for those who are resistant, who don't want to learn, who don't want to forget that.
But then again, you can use it for good too. Get them engaged and put real messages in there.
I don't know if you've heard the story of that. If you put a frog into a pot of boiling water, it's going to jump out immediately. But if you put in the frog into the pot of water, it's cold, you know, it's normal, room temperature, and you start heating it up bit by bit, a little bit more. Then, hey, it's going to stay in there and you're going to boil frog.
That's right.
Ding, 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 ding. Daniel Ferrer dropping knowledge. Look at this. Good to see young people getting involved, waking up, spitting hot fire and facts. Make sure to check out this Lady H episode after we're done over here if you guys want, or you can leave if you really want and go over there as well. I'm not complaining. Once this is out there, it's out there at your convenience. But if you do like this show, I would encourage you to join as a member to make sure that we can stay active and stay on the air. Hit that big, beautiful Rumble join button over on Rumble and commit to supporting the show for $5 a month to make sure we stay active. And if you do, you automatically earn a commissioned officer's rank in the Common Censored Info Infantry. Join or die. You can pick the Info Army. You can pick the Info Navy. You can pick the Info Marines. You can pick the Info Space Force, Info Air Force, Coast Guard, Rebel Mercs Division, Privateers, Redneck, Roustabouts, Spec Ops. And everybody can join in on the fun with the Meme Cannon Cavalry. You can also join the Info Infantry, but just by sharing the show. 1 share equals 1. Mission completed for the Common Censored Info Infantry, earning you your first enlisted rank in the branch of your choice. Fugono Info Army, representing Eddie's Grunt. And and you can skip enlisted ranks also by making one-time donations to the show or Rumble ranting. And we do read Rumble rants throughout the broadcast. Thanks so much in advance for your guys' support. And thanks again to Omega Directive for gifting 5 memberships. Appreciate you, brother.
Right. So, and this is the Wikipedia whitewashing, and we can get into the deeper layers of this, but contractors funded by USAID, I should note the main contractor was Creative Associates International, who's a frequent one. It's CAI, not CIA, I promise. So they concealed in the budget from Senate, from Congress, from the White House National Security Council. They said that these were humanitarian funds for Pakistan. And then they ran that to their contractor, CAI, to, quote, set up a Byzantine system of front companies using Cayman Islands bank accounts and recruiting unsuspecting business executives who would not be told of the company's ties to the U.S. government, according to the AP. The private companies like Creative Associates International designed the network. The idea arose after they were given 500,000 stolen Cuban cell phones that were available on the black market. And then what you'll see if you scroll down is, the network, dubbed the Cuban Twitter, reached about 60,000 Cuban subscribers. The initiative appears to also have had a surveillance dimension, allowing a, quote, vast database of Cuban Zunzanillo subscribers, including gender, age, and receptiveness and political tendencies to be built, with the Associated Press noting such data could be used in the future for political purposes. By the way, these are all quotes from the internal documents, and we can go through that. The data would then be used for micro-targeting efforts towards anti- and pro-government users in Cuba. The developers aimed to, at first, use non-controversial content, such as sports and music, and hurricane updates, by the way. They used hurricane updates in the internal things. You know, basically a humanitarian front that if you sign up to this app, you'll know about natural disasters in the area. Meanwhile, what was the plan the whole time? Once they built up enough subscribers, they would begin to introduce political messages through social bots and encourage dissent in this astroturfing. There's a great Guardian write-up on this. If you go to Guardian Zunzaneo, so you can see how crazy. Just type in Zunzaneo Smart Mob Guardian. You'll see the internal files explicitly said, we're going to lure them in with music, sports, and hurricane updates. You have to join. Twitter in Cuba if you want, to be relevant in the culture and see what's trending in sports and music. If you want to be safe in your homes, if you want to know where hurricanes are going, Twitter, Cuban Twitter is the fastest place to get this. It's humanitarian work for, we're saving lives by doing this.
Thanks to Threeper for the $5 Rumble rant. Toin in the chat, Yella. Feed my green chicken. Will do, brother. Thanks so much for supporting the show. Loki sends her appreciation and love.
But the whole point is once they hit a critical mass, they would create Rent-A-Riots. And they would use this the same way they used it in Egypt and Tunisia to topple those governments under the Obama administration. They would organize smart mobs, Rent-A-Riots. And if you scroll down, there's some, this is a fantastic article, highly recommend. There's a lot more there, but okay, stop right there. Oh, scroll up a little bit. Okay. Documents show the U.S. government planned to build a subscriber base through non-controversial news content, news messages on soccer, music, and hurricane updates. This is in The Guardian. Later, when the network reached a critical mass, perhaps hundreds of thousands, operators would introduce political content aimed at inspiring Cubans to organize, quote, smart mobs, mass gatherings called at a moment's notice that might trigger a Cuban spring, or as one USAID document put it, quote, renegotiate the balance of power between state and society. And, so one more thing, if you want to look up on this, you see how they conceal it. If you just type in USAID, Zunzaneo, and discrete or discrete action, and you'll see how USAID, when this scandal popped off, everyone said, what the hell? How did this happen? This is classic CIA work. You're using Cayman Islands bank accounts. You're saying you're earmarking it for Pakistani aid. This has clear implications for U.S. statecraft.
In other words, USAID is a CIA front.
This gets busted. This is why we task the CIA to do this. Plausible deniability. If something has diplomatic blowback and we don't want U.S. fingerprints on it, we need a formal intelligence agency because there's diplomatic blowback if U.S. fingerprints are revealed.
Major crazy stuff. Here's the trending topic, which will be linked also if you guys want to check out everybody's takes on it. USAID funds allegedly used for Rent-A-Riots. Douglas McGregor, Colonel McGregor, breaking Obama busted laundering money in the Cayman Islands. Ruh-roh, guys. It's been revealed that Barack Obama used USAID to launder taxpayer money, pretending to send aid overseas when in reality it was used to fund Rent-A-Riots. Insane stuff. Rioters are paid actors. We do have also reports that giant crowd that formed over in Colorado, I think it was. 30,000 people, they're saying. Apparently, the cell phones have been GPS tracked, showing that they were paid protesters as well, funded by Soros and USAID, allegedly. Let's see, where are we on my list over here? Let's check out this mysterious spiral over the UK that has appeared. Looks just like the spiral, well, a lot like the spiral that appeared over Norway in 2009. You guys remember that? Mysterious spiral lights over the UK spark controversy. Multiple observers across the UK, including regions like Yorkshire, Devon, and North Wales, reported seeing a mysterious spiral-shaped light phenomenon in the night sky around 8 p.m. March 24th, 2025. Descriptions varied, with some likening it to a galaxy, a satellite, or an unidentified aerial phenomenon. The object was noted for its bright swirling in appearance and was seen moving across the sky. Jay in Kiev saying, over Russia and Ukraine right now, something crazy. Any astronomical or any astronomy aficionado know what this thing is? Some kind of weird spiral up in the sky. Bizarre stuff. People are saying that it was a Falcon rocket coming back into the atmosphere, dumping fuel. Did anyone in Hampshire just see something fucking weird fly across the sky? Sorry, what the fuck is this swirl in the sky? Not zoomed. So come on then. What the hell is this? Seen in Wales. People are thinking that it was a rocket. Let's see what's going on here. We got a video. Anyone idea what this is? Just find exploding very high in the sky. I'm in northwest UK. Holy shit. Looks like an injection of rocket fuel to me. This whole event was way less intricate and complex and breathtaking than the 2009 Norway event, which occurred way up in the sky. These are often attributed to missile launches, but could also be something more nefarious. Anyone remember the Norway spiral? I do. Look at this, man. This was weird stuff. Really weird stuff. This spiraling blue trail coming out of the center, connecting to this giant double spiral. And then all of a sudden, the center opened up, turning into a big black void in the middle of the sky. Let's see. Let's see if we can find a good video of this. 15 years ago, lights over Norway. UFO or military rocket?
I helvete det där?
Look at that
Jesus.
one. That's weird shit right there.
Det begynte så smått. Etter hvert, og da forsvant som et lite sort hull.
And then the big black hole opens up in the middle. What the hell, man? That one doesn't look like a rocket spilling fuel to me. That looks like something different and weird. So, highly bizarre. There's this video that's purported going around. Norway Spiral, best video. This one is actually a CGI recreation being posted and passed off as a real video. It's not. Spoiler alert. This is a CGI recreation, but it shows the weird stuff that was going on, at least what they imagine happened. Super weird. Makes no sense. The middle opening up all bizarrely. Let's take a look at another one.
NASA tackles some of the greatest problems faced by mankind, but its reputation for achieving the impossible also creates unease among those who do not trust the United States government. On December 9th, 2009, the people of Norway are preparing for the historic arrival of President Barack Obama. But for the inhabitants of one northern town, the day will be remembered for a very different reason.
It's just before sunrise. People are getting ready to go out and take kids to school. Suddenly they see a strange light rising in the east behind the mountain.
News of the weird light in the mountain spreads fast.
People were running around asking each other, what the hell is this thing?
As the stunned residents look on, the phenomenon morphs from a simple glowing beam into a twisting vortex of light. Within a few seconds, a giant spiral hundreds of miles wide dominates the pre-dawn skies. Witnesses are still trying to understand what they're seeing, when without warning, it disappears.
As people watch this amazing sight, suddenly a black hole appears in the middle and swallows the entire apparition. It's one of the most incredible things that the people had ever seen.
Dozens of videos and photos of the sighting soon emerge from witnesses as far away as Sweden. It becomes known as the spiral anomaly.
Many observers declare this event an elaborate hoax. No natural phenomenon could create such a perfect shape in the sky. But as more and more eyewitness accounts emerge, it soon becomes clear this is a genuine mystery.
One theory emerges that the spiral could be nothing more than an extreme form of aurora borealis, or northern lights.
If you lived in Norway, you're used to seeing shimmering curtains of green and pink in the sky.
Yeah, so since when did the northern lights form perfectly symmetrical double helix spirals with weird, strange blue curlicues coming out of the center? Never. Spoiler alert.
You're not used to seeing a big spiral in the sky.
People in Norway know what the northern lights look like. This wasn't it.
With natural phenomena ruled out as a possible cause, Norwegians start to suspect the involvement of Russian military forces across the nearby border.
Russia flatly denies all knowledge of any strange cloud or beam of light. So that begs the question, what the heck is this thing?
Yeah, people were saying it was a Russian rocket launch. Weird stuff going on there. What do you guys think, man? Yep, flashback from back in the day, Fire for Effect. That was 2009, one day before Obama arrived over there in Norway. Let's listen to a space analyst analyzing it.
I want to get more from CBS News space analyst Bill Harwood. Bill, it is amazing the action on YouTube already just in the last 24 hours. People playing music behind these videos, anticipating the end of the world. This seems like a much more likely explanation, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does, Harry. You know, rockets can fail in spectacular ways, and when you look at vehicles up out of the atmosphere where there's no pressure constraining those contrails, it gets quite dramatic. We had a YouTube video, I think, of a Trident missile launch off Cape Canaveral back in 1989, that as soon as the missile came out of the water, the nozzle went hard over and the rocket just started spinning end over end, just like that. So this video looks very similar to that, and that would certainly be my assumption as to what went wrong.
And I've been in Norway in the winter and seen the aurora borealis, which is spectacular, but it bears no resemblance to that whatsoever.
No, it really doesn't. And, you know, I've seen in the past they've done experiments before where they've released materials into the upper atmosphere to study the ionosphere and things like that. And you get those same colors when those events happen. But in this case, this spinning plume motion clearly indicated the failure of some kind of solid rocket motor.
And can you imagine if you were standing there looking at the night sky and seeing that, how freaked out you would be? Bill Harwood, thank you very, very much for your help this morning.
We had Cheddar Steve saying he once saw a giant wiener in the sky. We actually have videos of that as well. Unexplained wiener in the sky, guys. It's Anubis's butthole.
Colonel,
good one,
you better
Snarl.
take a look at this radar. What is it, son?
More like a gaydar in this case.
I don't know, sir. But it looks like a giant dick.
Yeah.
Take a look out of starboard. Oh my God! It
guys
looks
remember
like
this?
a huge
Pecker! Oh, wow.
One of the best movies of all time.
That's not a woodpecker. It looks like someone's...
Privates! We have reports of an unidentified flying object. It is a long, smooth shaft, complete with
Johnson!
two balls.
What is that? That looks just like an enormous...
Wang! Pay attention.
I was distracted by that enormous flying...
Willie. Yeah. What's that? Well, it looks like a giant...
Johnson. Yes, sir. Get on the horn to British intelligence and let them know about this.
Mini-Me! McWanger.
Did we get Dr. E?
No, sir. He got away in that rocket that looks like a huge...
Penis, the male reproductive organ, also known as tallywhacker, schlong, or...
Wiener? Any of you kids want another wiener?
Dad, what's that?
I don't know, son, but it's got great, big...
Nuts! Hot, salty nuts! Who wants some? Lord Almighty!
That looks
What a
just like my
voice.
husband's.
One-eyed monster! Step right up and see the one-eyed monster!
Hey, what's that? It looks like a big...
Woody. Woody Harrelson? Can I have your autograph?
Sure, no problem. Oh, my Lord. Look at that thing.
So big.
I've seen bigger. That's just a little prick.
Sir, Dr. Evil's not bluffing. One of our satellites is falling out of orbit. Which one?
Boobs!
It's the one that looks like a pair of...
Melons! Big, juicy melons!
It's a schwanz.
Are they nice and firm?
Or what do you think?
Look at that. It looks like
let me
a set
touch
of
them
giants.
to find out.
Hey, and then you're late. How we doing? We're back. Yeah. Check it out. Those remind me of
Boobs.
Boobs, Ozzy.
These filmmakers are just boobs.
Sharon!
What do you mean, Dad?
Well, they're using the same joke as they did in the last Austin Powers movie.
What joke?
Wiley
Joke
in the
about
house.
the long, smooth rocket that looks like some guy's.
Johnson,
Yes, sir.
any sign of that satellite?
No, sir. It's gone.
So good. So good. Classic bizarre things in the skies that always just so happen to look like buttholes or boobs or wieners or whatever. It's weird, man. It's weird. Weird. How about this one? U.S. halts funding for Australian university research. Why were we funding Australian universities in the first place? The Trump admin has paused funding for research at 7 Australian universities due to a survey evaluating researchers' ties to Satan political ideologies and diversity issues. This move has prompted an, quote, emergency meeting, unquote, call in Australia and raised questions about the future of international academic collaborations amidst domestic policy shifts. Sonny saying, why the fuck was I funding Australian universities to such a degree that the funding being removed causes a government emergency meeting? Elon Musk saying, good question. Hodge twins, why in the hell are we paying for colleges in Australia, mate? Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has been urged to call an emergency meeting after the Trump administration cuts grants to 7 Australian universities. We shouldn't have been funding them in the first place. We need to stop funding all privately owned businesses, operations, etc. All of them. Taxpayer money should never be used for private causes, like what's his face, Davy Crockett learned at that article at Foundation for Economic Education, FEE.org, titled "Not Yours to Give." It's not your money to give, federal government. It's our money. So we got to stop it all. Stop all of it. Every single dollar needs to stop. Doge. This is what I voted for, says Amuse. What the hell are U.S. taxpayers funding Australian colleges to the extent the PM must call an emergency meeting when it's cut? Yeah, insane. Why are Australian universities so reliant on funding from an overseas government? If it has to be propped up by the U.S. government or any other government to survive, then it's not a worthy endeavor. You should be able to survive in the free market without relying on money stolen from the poor to give to the rich. Like Ron Paul says, Snarl Barky, I am serious, and quit calling me Shirley. Oh, man. Hilarious. Leslie Nielsen, is that right? Oh, man. So this is happening over there. Elon Musk also posted this at Elon Musk on X. No more loans to babies or people too old to be alive, i.e. stolen social security numbers. As of Friday, SBA.gov now, quote, requires date of birth collection for all direct loan applications. Pauses the direct loan process for those under 18 and above 120 years old. Basic sanity checks like these are the initial steps towards minimizing fraud in government payment programs. Sounds like a good idea to me. They weren't even checking your age. Insane. They're just using any possible excuse and vector to just give all of our money away. Dirk, Naked Gun, nice. I don't know if I've ever actually seen that all the way through. Gonna have to watch it. Some classic Leslie Nielsen movies out there. Nice beaver, says old Buck. Oh, man. Hilarious. Keep it going, Doge. That's right. Bust them with their hands in the cookie jar of DC corruption. Both the Dems and the Republicans, the uniparty, so to speak. Let's see. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, we have the Pentagon launching an investigation into national security leaks. They're going to be using polygraph tests, ruh-roh, cheats, stealers, crooked SOBs. Better have a tack in your shoe to try to beat that polygraph. You're in trouble. The Pentagon has announced an investigation into recent, quote, unauthorized disclosures of national security information, which may include the use of polygraph tests on Department of Defense personnel. This is by Cassandra McDonald over at Gateway Pundit. SecDef Heg Seth, Chief of Staff Joe Casper, sent a memo out on Friday letting DoD staff know that they may be subject to the lie detector tests. Quote, recently unauthorized disclosure of national security information involving sensitive communications with principals within the Office of the Secretary of Defense, OSD, demand immediate and thorough investigation. The memo read, according to a report from The Hill, quote, I request the prompt assistance of your Director for Defense Intelligence, Counterintelligence, Law Enforcement, and Security to support OSD in leading an investigation into authorized disclosures in coordination with the appropriate Department of Defense stakeholders, including those responsible for maintaining and overseeing information security systems and in coordination with federal partners as required. The memo continued, polygraphs, according to the memo, will be conducted, quote, in accordance with applicable law and policy. Casper warned that, quote, information identifying a party responsible for an unauthorized disclosure, unquote, will be referred to criminal law enforcement for prosecution. While details of which leaks prompted the investigation have not been publicly shared, the announcement's timing has prompted speculation that it may be about a New York Times report that Elon Musk was slated to receive a briefing on U.S. military strategies for a hypothetical war with China during a visit to the Pentagon. The most asinine, ridiculous claims. Shatter 17 finally caught up. Welcome back, Shatter. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for supporting the show. Boom! Shatter 17 in the house. Musk and President Trump both claimed that report about Elon Musk receiving China information was false. The ex-owner said it was, quote, pure propaganda and called for prosecuting those leaking, quote, maliciously false information to the media, the wrap-up smear. As Nancy Pelosi said it, we leak fake information to the news, then they report it, and then we bolster it. It's called the wrap-up smear. She admitted outright to that. The memo went out hours after Trump responded to the report. So hopefully we get some positive results out of this one. Another interesting story taking place elsewhere. The Empire of Crime from Gateway Hispanic. Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo Gonzalez accuse Maduro of leading the Rent-A-Riots gang and the Cartel of the Suns. State-sponsored terrorisms and gang activities is? The statement issued on March 17th, 2025 by Maria Corina Machado and Edmundo Gonzalez Urrutia, leaders of the Venezuelan opposition, was a forceful attack against Nicolas Maduro. In it, they directly accused him of being the leader of two, the most dangerous criminal organizations in Hispanic America, the Rent-A-Riots and the Cartel of the Suns. Machado and Gonzalez claim that these organizations do not operate independently but are instruments of Maduro's regime. If true, that's pretty bombshell information there. A los venezolanos y la comunidad democrática internacional a propósito de las últimas decisiones del gobierno. Sorry, couldn't fucking resist. According to Maria Corina, the Rent-A-Riots is involved in drug trafficking, sex trafficking, and other serious crimes affecting both Venezuelans and citizens of other countries. The Cartel of the Suns, meanwhile, is allegedly composed of senior government officials and military personnel engaged in large-scale drug trafficking. Her statement highlights how these mafias have extended their reach beyond Venezuela. The Rent-A-Riots, originating in the Aragua state, has committed numerous murders both inside and outside the country, including in Chile, according to data from the Chilean prosecutor's office. In Santiago, for instance, it is blamed for assassinations and extortion activities. Additionally, she mentions cases in Peru and Colombia, where the gang has been linked to human trafficking networks. The opposition leaders also point to the Maduro regime's complicity in these criminal activities, They allege that corruption and institutional collapse in Venezuela have allowed these organizations to thrive. They call on international institutions to act decisively, supporting U.S. efforts to dismantle these networks. They both emphasized that the Venezuelan immigration crisis as a key factor in the Rent-A-Riots expansion. More than 7 million Venezuelans have fled the country, according to a March 2025 UN report, and among them, members of these gangs have infiltrated, bringing crime to countries like Mexico and the United States. In the U.S., authorities have identified Rent-A-Riots members crossing the border, linking them to murders and other crimes. So it'd be pretty nuts if Maduro was actually leading this whole frickin' thing. According to her, as long as Maduro remains in power, the suffering of the Venezuelan people and regional insecurity will not cease. Do we have English here? Let's see. Nope. Unfortunately, Maduro released a response, probably denying. But interesting stuff nonetheless. We'll next have a report from Peter Sweden saying that police illegally tried to enter his house. This article was written by Swedish. My bum is on the Swedish independent journalist Peter Emanuelsson, also known as Peter Sweden. You can find him at petersweden.org. He's been good exposing coof and jib-jab stuff. Norwegian police tried to illegally enter the house of independent journalist Peter Emanuelsson after writing an article about a cult. This is unbelievable, he says. I'm under attack. The Norwegian police just tried to illegally enter my house without any reason and without a court order while I was away traveling. What they didn't know is that I have cameras and documented all of their illegal behavior. It is now becoming clear that the police have been engaged in a harassment campaign against me and my family after I wrote an article that exposed how leaders in a religious cult was engaged in what many consider to be grooming of young girls. Police had secretly warned me about this cult, saying that there was, quote, powerful forces at play. I investigated the cult anyway, and now I'm under attack. Good for you, Peter Sweden. Truth above all. This should be a national scandal, but of course the mainstream media is ignoring it. Now I need your help. So here's a link to the video, and the entire article encourages you to read. Let's check out some of this video over here. Police illegally tries to enter my house. So there we have him at the doorway, trying to get in there. This is clearly political at this point, he says. Increíble. So now the Norwegian court has essentially banned me as an independent journalist from doing journalism and asking questions to public figures in a cult. All the while, police are engaged in what clearly is a harassment campaign against me and my family because I dared to do what the mainstream media didn't, to report on this cult. I never thought that this could happen in a, quote, democracy in Europe. Well, welcome to the future, bitch, because you are being overrun. This is probably a state-sponsored cult, in my opinion. You know, Tommy Robinson in Britain talked about the grooming gangs, and he's now been in months in solitary confinement. This is about standing up for what is right, to stand up for vulnerable young girls against men abusing their positions of power as leaders in a cult. And I'm the one under attack right now for doing what is right. So consider helping support him and his lawyer fees. He's got all the links and everything you need to do that over here in the article. Let's jump over to the next topic that we have on the list. As 1,000 ATF agents are transferred to the FBI under Kash Patel's directive. And let's see, what time are we at right now? Hour 44 minutes. Let's go ahead and terminate the YouTube feed and go Rumble and exclusive. If you guys are watching over on YouTube, open up a new tab. Come join us on Alt Tech where the water is warm and we can speak freely. There's the link for you in the YouTube chat. If you can't make it, we'll catch you on the flip side tomorrow for more Common Censored. Until then, let's get ready to rumble!